Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Board of Education for the Appleton Area School District. Excuse me. My name is Kay Eggert, and first roll call of fellow board members, starting with Jason Kolpak.
Here.
Nick Ross.
Here.
Eng Tao.
Here.
James Bacon.
Here.
Ed Ruffalo.
Here.
Chris Sauter.
Here.
All right. Just apologize that we are starting a little bit late. We were able to start our evening with our Celebrating Student Success Awards event. And so that was at another location. So we're just a little bit late getting going here. So apologize for that. Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, as a reminder, if you are joining us via Zoom, the materials for the meeting tonight can be found on board docs, which can be linked to through the district website. First, I will ask if board members have any requests to remove any of the consent agenda items for separate consideration tonight. Okay, seeing none, then I'll ask for approval of tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any questions on that? Seeing none, then all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So we do have a special presentation tonight, and we are happy that Joshua Hartlett, our student from Appleton West, is here to share a bit about what's going on at West. So welcome, Joshua.
All right, yeah, thank you for having me. So this is obviously a little bit more of a quicker turnaround than previously. So I think I had about 5 weeks since last time. So I'll keep it a little bit more short and sweet here. But yeah, just like to wrap up overall, as this is my last presentation of the year, I've really talked to the student body as a whole and the adults and the principal and stuff like that. And just overall, we've really had a resounding success of a school year, and our student body has been doing really well this year. Like for example, our office discipline referrals has been in very good shape this year. Basically 98% of students have been doing exactly what they've been needing to do. And all the teachers said they're very satisfied with that. Obviously there's still going to be spots here and there, but overall, attendance has been really good, and then behavior as well has been really good. And the students have been satisfied with their school experience as a whole, at least as far as I've talked to them. So that's been really good to see. Just an update on the mural in the library. We have a couple of student-run projects going on there, and they're painting like a really large mural in one side of the library. And it's been going really well. They're finishing it up here in the next couple of weeks, and it's been really great to see, make the library more of an inviting place for all of the students to be. And then additionally, last time I was here, I touched on the ACT boot camp that we started doing this year for our juniors, and it seemed to be very successful. At least from the adult perspective. I've talked to teachers and stuff like that, and they've said that the juniors seemed like a lot more engaged than in previous years, maybe with the ACT, and they were taking it a lot more seriously. Like for example, the ACT boot camp, prepared them with a booklet and stuff like that, and they saw students, starting their booklet outside of class and stuff like that, and even, for example, the trainer told them that doing a little bit of exercise before the ACT is helpful. And we saw some students getting out, going on a walk and stuff before they took the test. So they were taking it a lot more seriously, and they just seemed a lot more engaged with that test. So we think the boot camp is a success, and we hope to continue it in the coming years. Yeah, and then we also have a number of volunteers at our front foyer. I'm not sure if any of you guys are familiar with Jerry or Dave. But they're like some community volunteers that come a couple times a week, and they just help, they man our front door, I guess. So if students are coming in late or stuff like that, they make sure they get where they need to be, sign into student services. And it's just really good that we have that community involvement. And they just, keep our campus, safe, and everyone gets to where they're supposed to be. And then one thing that we are carrying out this week is going to be kind of like a first time for this Thursday. We're doing a talent show as well as something called our Klingberg Challenge. So this is the first time that we've done a talent show, and it was really because we took the student input you know, a lot of students were really excited. They wanted to do something like a talent show this year, and we were able to get that organized. So we'll be doing that Thursday. We have like an adjusted schedule since Friday is the start of spring break. We'll have that talent show going on in the afternoon, and the students are really excited for that. So we hope that a lot of them will have a good show out for that. And then also we are raising money for one of our teachers, Mr. Klingberg, before he gets deployed in the military. So we have this Klingberg challenge, which was also a student idea. And one of our teachers, Miss Whittle, helped organize it. So basically what it is different like students or classes can participate in it. They do like a 1 mile run and then like some sit-ups and push-ups and stuff like that. And this way we're getting like pledges to raise money for Mr. Klingberg's family. So he, you know, they can stay supported and stuff like that while he's overseas. And then lastly, like a more district-wide thing, of course, but we have our prom coming up April 13th. And we do already have like a lot of dialogue and stuff like that going around in the school. So it's really exciting, and a lot of students are really excited for that. And we started selling tickets last week, and then this week as well. We have in-person tickets, you know, just to make sure that we're ahead of it, on top of it, so everyone has an opportunity to get the tickets if they'd like to go to prom. So that's exciting. And then just for sports a little bit, our spring sports just got underway, like either last week or this week, depending on what sport you're playing. So like track started a couple of weeks ago, for example, and our track team got a new head coach this year. And all of the athletes in track are like super excited about that because she was an assistant coach before. Everyone really likes her. So they're excited to see what's in store for them this season. And hopefully they'll keep on going up. And then baseball starts this week with like our practices and stuff like that. It starts today. And then with weather permitting, we'll have our first game next week. So it's just really good. You know, students have been working hard all off season in the winter and stuff like that. And now, you know, spring sports are underway. We get to show what we're all about. And then just for our clubs and activities, one of our interesting things that happened in the last month was our Key Club had an event called DECON, which is like a statewide Key Club event. And West hasn't participated in this specific event for a long time. So our Key Club chapter wanted to see what it's about, and like if we're interested in continuing to participate in it. They have chapters from all over the state meet up in Blue Harbor Resort in Sheboygan. And they have like leadership workshops that different Key Clubs did. And they had a district board, and our Key Club president and then one other student participated in like a statewide caucus where delegates ran for elections, like in statewide positions and stuff like that. And they got to represent Appleton West in that caucus. So yeah, it was really cool to see. And they're thinking about doing it in the future as well. And as I said before, with that Key Club, they're painting that student mural, and then they have our chapter-wide elections coming up in April, where we'll get our new officers. And I just think Key Club is definitely one of our very successful clubs this year. We've had a Key Club chapter in the past, but they've really like made it into a much more, I guess, you know, a much larger club, I guess, in the school. And students are a lot more involved this year in Key Club and volunteering and helping out the community and everything. So hopefully that can continue on in future years as well. And then for our musical, I touched on Mean Girls last time and how we had like a record turnout for that. But our cast is also doing like a really cool thing outside of the musical. They are doing anti-bullying education at the middle schools in Appleton. So they're going around to like Einstein, Madison, and like Wilson and stuff like that. And, you know, they're just like helping talk to the kids and connect with them like on a student-to-student basis about anti-bullying. And hopefully, you know, in the next couple of years when they come up to high school, we'll have a more welcoming environment that way. So it's really cool to see them get engaged like that. And also our mock trial did attend state, and they went 2-2. So as I said before, it was their first time that they qualified for state in a really long time. And with that 2-2 record, it was the best that they finished, I'm pretty sure, in our mock trial history. So it was really cool to see. And we have a lot of returning students next year as well. So there's a lot of excitement about what we can do next year. So that's all I got. Any questions?
There's a lot happening.
Yeah.
Are you going to be in the talent show?
I won't be. I won't be. Just some
Okay,
friends that
I'm
I'm
gonna ask
excited.
Richard. So, I mean, it's interesting. So I guess I hadn't heard of the high schools. I mean, so cool. You said it hasn't been done
Mhm.
before it.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
our
something
first
that
time.
students want to do and
Yeah,
have organized it and,
we do have a pretty packed schedule for Thursday, so we'll be lots of performances we'll be able to watch.
oh, yeah,
Mhm.
good, fun. Great.
just wanted to add, every performer needs an attentive audience member.
For sure,
So
for sure.
your role is very important.
Make sure to do my part in that, so. All right.
That is a good point, but
Mhm. All right, perfect.
well, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so
Sure.
much
Yeah, thank you
and
so much.
appreciate the update. I thought at first you said there was not a lot to report, but it seemed like it was quite a bit. So loved hearing about what's going on.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Then at this time would be an opportunity for public input. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the board via public input? Okay, I don't see any, so we're going to move on. We're going to be then on number 7. This would be information for board decision preparation. And first, from Business Services, Holly Burr will help us understand the food service management company contract for 2024-25.
Great, thank you. Under 9B of the superintendent's consent agenda, you will be asked to approve the food service management company contract for the 24-25 school year. Since we participate in the National School Lunch Program, we are required at a minimum of once every 5 years to go out to bid for our food service management company. This process is very regulated by Wisconsin DPI as to timelines, posting requirements, and review requirements. Once the request for proposal, RFP, was approved by DPI, we sent it out to 17 companies. 5 of these companies attended the required pre-bid conference and walkthrough. And then from there, 2 of the companies actually submitted proposals. A committee of 4 principals, Diane Whitman, who works directly with the food service, and myself reviewed the proposals. The scoring, rubric, criteria, and required summary of the proposal was then submitted to DPI for further review. And DPI did approve the recommendation from the committee. So at this time, administration recommends that the district award a 1-year contract to Chartwells, who is our current food service company. The awarded contract may be renewed for up to 4 additional 1-year terms. Questions?
Just a quick one, Holly. They were nice enough to invite board members one time and they seemed to really do a very fine job. I just curious, do you have any concerns or any concerns raised? Chartwell seems to be doing a good job for us. Just wondering if there was anything that people were concerned about at all.
Not that, aside from normal normal food complaints, not that I'm aware of. We've had a very good working relationship with our partner Chartwells for the last 5 years. And of course, we had to survive the pandemic in between there, and they worked very good with the district in taking care of that as well. Now that we're up and running, there's some really exciting programs that they do. A few of those you saw when we did do our visit. But no, Diane meets with them on a weekly basis, so we address any concerns. And I know Jill, who is here with us tonight, the director, meets individually with the principals. And so as things do come up, as they will, we address them immediately, so.
Good, thank you. That's very helpful.
Holly, can you just provide a little background on Fund 50? In the fiscal impact, it says it's a guaranteed return.
Sure, okay, that's a great question, Kay. So basically Fund 50 is our dedicated food service fund, and the money that we receive like from the National Food Lunch Program can only be put back into that fund. You cannot transfer it out and use it for anything else. You know, you can't use it for classrooms, you can't use it for construction. It is a dedicated fund. And basically how a lot of these contracts work is we run as efficient as we can to keep the per student cost down. And so we usually try and run these as close to break even as we can. And so the proposal that we would like to have approved tonight only guarantees $100,000 income for the 24-25 year. And for that reason, we run it as tight as we can to keep the costs down.
But then anything that gets built up in Fund 50 is used for perhaps upgrades to.
Yep,
For,
as we
I
have,
mean, just,
we
can you
have
just
a-
talk a little bit more.
yep,
about
we
this?
have a pretty good fund balance right now. And as the construction is going on at the schools, we are addressing a number of locations, upgrades and things like that in the kitchen area. It's perfect time to do it since they're already there doing some construction. That is exactly what it's used for, upgrading the, the facilities themselves or just upgrading services. I know one thing we had talked about recently is a new way to have fresh salads, and we're gonna pilot it at the middle school where it's actually like a vending machine, but with fresh salads items. So that's for instance, where we're using some of the money that we've saved up in that Fund 50 to buy those units.
Okay, I have a question about the salad thing.
Okay,
Is this like, are you building the salad with the vending machine, or is it pre-built, prepackaged salads that you then?
you build it in the vending machine. So from the one I've seen, and Jill can probably correct me if I'm wrong, but basically your items are there. It's kind of like the cereal ones. If you've ever seen the cereal ones where you put your bowl under and you push the button and the stuff comes out. Kind of the same concept.
Really cool.
Yeah,
I
very
also,
clean.
I also have a question, a more serious question. So is this typical as far as the way the contract is going to work, like a 1-year contract followed by additional 1-year contracts up to 5 years?
It is very typical. We actually can't contract for longer than per the regulations. We can't technically contract for longer than 1 year. So they are 1-year contracts. It is very typical to award them unless there's problems to award the additional years.
Great. Thanks.
So yeah, you'll see me, like I said, unless there's issues, you'll see me here once a year saying, let's renew this.
And Holly mentioned this a little bit. Chartwell's was a wonderful partner during the pandemic. When we're both trying to figure out almost on a weekly basis, how do we do this? They were willing at all times to try to do what was best for our students and their families in terms of serving food out of trucks, off of tables in parking lots, lots of different locations. And so they were relatively new to us a year before the pandemic, but they were a great partner during that time. And so really pleased to continue with them for the next 1 year, but hopefully 5 years.
They work very closely with us too, in trying to figure out what programs we can afford and things like that. So last year, or this current year, we instituted the universal free breakfast at all the elementary schools. So that was, something that the previous director had come to Diane and I, and we worked through the numbers, make sure it was affordable, but that was a great value add that we could offer free breakfast to all the elementary. So just as again, a for instance of the partnership.
Okay, any other questions from board members? Because this is on the superintendent consent agenda.
Yep.
And because of just needing to get this contract approved, that's why we need to approve it tonight. So,
Yeah, we have that timeline from you
Yeah.
that we kind of stick.
but if there's any other questions from board members? Okay, then I don't see any, so thank you very much. Then next we would like to hear from School and Student Services regarding summer school courses for 2024. Hello, I'm Sherry.
Hello, good evening. Tonight, under the superintendent's consent agenda, you will be asked to approve our summer school courses for 2024. This was an item of information that we went over at our last board meeting on March 4th, and School Services, Student Services would recommend approval of this item this evening. So do you have any additional questions?
Okay, thank you. And next, personnel services update. Julie King.
Yes, good evening. Personnel Services has 4 items on the consent agenda for your consideration. Those include 24 new educator hires. So we are in the heart of our recruitment time right now, filling vacancies from the recruitment event and other recruiting resources. In addition, there are 11 contract changes and then 2 contract revisions based on educators earning their master's degree at second semester as per handbook. And then we have 2 educator resignations. Are there any questions on these items?
Hi, Julie. I do have a question. This is more general, but how does so if, let's say a teacher is interested or an educator or staff person is interested in furthering their education in the education field, how does human resources support individuals who are looking into that? Like, I'm guessing a teacher who would be interested could call you up and say, I'm interested in pursuing education. So I'm just kind of wondering high level how that goes.
So high level, the approvals actually go through our ACI department as far as what is approved for an approved master's degree program. There is also the partnership with Oshkosh. So we do have a cohort of educators that go through master's programs pretty regularly. Steve Harrison and his team heads that. But that's another opportunity as well. Really, the master's degree is kind of open to where interest is, because somebody might be looking for a master's in leadership, where another might be interested in integrating technology. So there's a pretty wide variety of what's applied for. When it comes through, the consideration is it an accredited college? Those types of consideration are the approval, not necessarily what the person's interest in that master's degree is. If it's related to the position and of interest, that's how the approvals are determined.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Julie, at Ruffalo, I see several special education hires, which I found very encouraging, because I know that's a difficult hire for all districts, including Appleton. And I'm hoping you give us just a bit of more context around this. And this is our heavy recruiting season. Are you happy where they're at? Are we a little behind, a little ahead? Just some guidance from that perspective.
Yes, at this time of the year, I always comment with a grain of salt. So where we're about 10 less vacancies than we were last year due to less resignations, retirements, that may change. I think this year I do feel that we are ahead of the curve. One of those pieces was the recruitment event that we had that drew 100 individuals, so that talent pool. As well as we have several candidates that we follow up with that were student teachers, WIP interns, things of that nature. And those continued partnerships with universities in the surrounding area have been a bright spot.
I know we have a program for students that are interested in going into education, that if they go through that program and then upon graduation, we guarantee them an interview. Has anybody worked their way all the way through and been in for an interview, or is that coming up yet? Wondering how
Actually, we've had some of our teachers that have gone through the whole cycle. The other piece also that we are working on that was presented a little bit and touched on at our work session last week with the board is we are looking at, right now we have 2 classes that our high school students can take that can transfer to college credit. We are working with a partnership to expand that to 3 credits. So when they get into the program, they could have 9 credits towards their degree. And we're strengthening our partnerships with Fox Valley Tech and Lakeland for that full cycle pathway, and hopes of launching an apprenticeship as well. come summer, come fall, with some work with the Department of Workforce Development as well.
Thank you. That's very encouraging.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Thank you, Julie. Okay, we are going to move to the board's consent agenda, which is just one set of meeting minutes from March 4th. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second on that?
Second.
Okay. Roll call, please. Kayla?
Chris Sauter,
Aye.
Ed Ruffalo,
Aye.
Kay Ager,
Aye.
James Bacon,
Aye.
Ping Tao,
Aye.
Jason Kolpak,
Aye.
and Nick Ross.
Aye.
Okay, then we'll move to the superintendent's consent agenda. Mr. Hartjes.
The superintendent's consent agenda includes 6 items for your consideration. The first item, 9A, was reported on by Sherry Garvey during the school services update. The next item, 9B, was reported on by Holly Burr during the business services update. And items 9C through F were reported on by Julie King during the personnel services update. And I recommend approval of these 6 items, 9A through F.
I'll move approval of the superintendent's consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Jason Kolpak,
Aye.
Edward Ruffalo,
Aye.
James Bacon,
Aye.
Ping Tao,
Aye.
Nick Ross,
Aye.
Chris Sauter,
Aye.
Kay Ager,
Aye. Okay, then we are going to move to 10 and 10B, School and Student Services Report. Mr. Harrison and Ty.
Good
Welcome.
evening, everyone. We have 2 items of information for you tonight that pertain to instructional materials updates in secondary science. You may recall several weeks ago, ACI team members shared with you updates being made in curriculum, which you have since approved for moving 6th grade into the middle school model, starting with the 24-25 school year. And so one of the items that Ty is sharing with us tonight is to provide instructional materials to support that shift for 6th grade science. And then also work that Ty has done with our secondary science teachers in biology with respect to instructional materials to support biology within the Appleton Area School District. And so both of these items will be coming back to you in a few weeks as items for consideration. Tonight, we're just sharing with you the background information on both of these.
Thank you, Steve. I'll start with biology, since Kayla had that up there. So our biology curriculum was recently updated. I wouldn't say recently because it was 2022 and we're in 2024 right now. So our biology curriculum in terms of standard-based coursework was completed back in 2022. At that time, we are still under the subscription of the old textbook that we currently have. So with that transition to the NGSS, we have gone through a textbook review and selected a new textbook that would be sufficient to support the next generation science standards as well as our updated curriculum. So that is one of the need in terms of an update to our material. Another piece to that is with the transition to Chromebooks in the district. A lot of our science technology in terms of probewares from Vernier that teachers have been utilized are more for the desktop. And with the transition away from desktop to Chromebook, there's also a need to update our science technology so that it's compatible with the Chromebook. So that is another piece. As we're looking at materials, we're looking at the textbook as well as online resources and the science technology within Vernier probes to support our whole curriculum together. So sharing with you the changes or that we would need for implementation. So we would need your approval of the biology textbook as well as the Vernier lab for biology, and all of these will support more, because in the district, we want to focus more on that hands-on inquiry-based learning within our science classroom. So this will allow the opportunity for our students to experience that with the updated equipment, because currently right now, we would not be able to use our old probes which are connected to the desktop, which we no longer have in the classroom. Questions on biology before we move into sixth grade science? As Steve mentioned, a couple weeks ago, you approved the sixth grade science curriculum. And at that time, the materials were still on public display for the 30-day. Through the public display, there were no feedback from, or there was no input. And with that, I am able to come to you today to propose the new instructional resource. Well, I wouldn't say new because this is not a new resource. This is a resource that our current 7th and 8th grade are currently using at the moment. So with the transition of 6th grade to middle school, we want to ensure that what the 6th grade is using is also consistent with 7th and 8th grade. So this is not a new material at the middle level, but it is new for 6th grade as they are moving into the middle level. Questions for 6th grade materials?
All right, so both of these items will be coming to you during the next April board meeting as items for consideration. And again, they're both connected to work that we've previously shared with you in terms of curriculum update. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, the next, the ELA field test update.
Yeah, so here to provide you a brief update with respect to the selection process that has occurred this year in our elementary grades. And knowing on April 8th during our board work session, you'll certainly receive a more comprehensive update, but knowing a decision was made last week in terms of recommendations, wanted to make sure that information was shared with you as soon as possible. So after almost 2 years, of reviewing the elementary English language arts or ELA program, nearly 60 educators from our district convened on March 13th to reach consensus on instructional materials to be recommended for the 2024-2025 school year. Following a year-long ELA program evaluation during the 23-24 school year, elementary teachers and administrators have been actively engaged in various activities to provide input throughout the selection process. A curriculum fair was held on February 21st at Appleton East High School, and this helped us to narrow down to, at that point, 2 choices. These were Amplify CKLA, which stands for Core Knowledge Language Arts, and Wit and Wisdom. Shortly thereafter, a team of educators and principals visited classrooms in 2 different school districts to observe the materials in action. Amplify CKLA was observed in the Kiel School District and Wit and Wisdom in the 2 Rivers School District. The observations focused on teacher clarity, student engagement, cultural responsiveness, and alignment with the Appleton Area School District ELA beliefs. The feedback collected was then later reviewed by the ELA Materials Adoption Work Group. After thorough consideration, the group reached consensus and recommended Wit and Wisdom as the knowledge building resource for grades 5K through 5 and UFly as the foundational skills resource for grades 5K through 2 in the upcoming school year. Wit and Wisdom has been endorsed by the state's Joint Finance Committee for meeting the criteria of science-based early literacy instruction as outlined in Act 20 and is currently on public display until May 3rd. Additionally, we recognize the need to support lagging phonemic awareness skills and will in the future be recommending Hagerty phonemic awareness resources for our struggling learners. Special recognition goes out to Dr. Carrie Willer, our AASD Director of Elementary Education, and all of our AASD educators, coaches, and administrators who contributed to this selection process. As part of the professional development planning process for the upcoming school year, we are currently in the final stages of putting together the other required components of Act 20, which include the required training for educators, for administrators, and for interventionists. During the April 8th board meeting, as a work session, a more comprehensive update will be provided to the board with respect to the ELA material selection process, as well as the current status of the district's efforts in meeting the requirements of Act 20. So again, this is meant to give you a moment in time update, knowing the recommendations just were made through the consensus process last week. But certainly would welcome any initial questions you have. Again, knowing on April 8th, we will certainly be providing you a more comprehensive overview. So questions at this time?
Have we heard if there will be any funding for the purchase of any of the materials? Or was that one of the 20 or 50 bills that has now been sidelined?
Good question, and certainly one that's not only on my mind, but also on Holly Burr's, obviously, as we look to make this all work, because that continues to be an important piece of all of this, is not only the financial piece, but thinking about teacher capacity and what would this look like throughout the upcoming school year. What we do know is a couple things. I recently attended a federal funding conference, which is every bit as exciting as that sounds, about 2 weeks ago. And one of the updates that we received at that time was two things. Number one, districts should expect up to 50% reimbursement, but not 50%. So as vague as that sounds, right? As far as what that would actually be. Also potentially looking of a timeline of 2026 for when the reimbursements would actually be made to districts. So right now, that is an area that certainly needs more clarity in terms of the implementation of Act 20 regarding how districts will be reimbursed. But as I mentioned, it's one of the pieces to the puzzle, because it's not just the financial piece, it's also, as we know, for teachers at the elementary level, this is one of many content areas that they teach, and thinking about the big picture to ensure that we do this in a way that is sustainable for our staff. Any other questions? Jason?
Curious, was the consensus difficult to reach, or were people pretty aligned, or how did that go?
Yeah, a couple of things we did, which I believe really helped, and this is a practice that we've had in the AASD for a number of years, is way back when, if you think back, even last year as part of coherent governance with OE 10, OE 11, one of our look fors was to have a program evaluation. And that's where this really was born out of. And in both that program evaluation, as well as the work we did with this work group, right from the beginning and then throughout the process, defined what our decision-making process would be. So we were very clear up front that it wouldn't be voting, because in a voting process, 51 versus 49 wins. And we knew that wouldn't be good for moving forward. So what we did on the 13th during that last session is we shared out all the feedback we'd received from our sites that had been field testing throughout this year. We also shared the feedback from the team that went and visited the various schools. And then we asked really 3 questions of every individual who was present. And again, it was about 60 people. Where's your level of support? Can you fully support, or do you fully support? Can you live with, or can you not live with? And so we define in the AASD that we reach consensus when the vast majority of our stakeholders indicate they could collectively support and or live with the decision. We had over 90% indicate for wit and wisdom that they could do both, whereas it was considerably less for the other resource. We agreed as a group, we reached consensus in the end too, because I think that's really important to not tell people we reached consensus, but do we all agree we actually did? And that was agreed. And really part of the messaging as well was understanding that not everyone necessarily got what they wanted. At the end of the day, no resource is perfect, and no resource will ever come close to the impact that our teachers have on our staff. And just reminding our staff of that remember, you're the most important person in our students' lives. These materials are to support your instruction, but will never compare to you as the educator. So I was pleasantly surprised with how that went, knowing this has been a year-long process, and asking individuals to potentially change how they teach can be a very personal thing. And really, I applaud everyone who participated in the process.
That's great to hear. That's really encouraging. Thank you for sharing that insight.
You're welcome.
Chris? Do you have
Yes,
something?
um,
Okay.
I have one comment and then one question. I just want to say thank you for providing the opportunity for teachers to participate in the curriculum fair. It seemed like there was very positive response and a lot of robust conversation going on at that event in and of itself, and just the ability for them to have an opportunity to look at the materials and have that impact on the decision, I think was very positive. And then my question has to do with phonics, the phonics programming for next year. Is there going to be a separate phonics curriculum or separate phonics materials? Or will that be embedded into the materials that will be adopted with Wit and Wisdom?
Thanks for bringing that up, Chris, because that's a really important piece to remember in all of this, is that when we talk about a comprehensive resource for English language arts, it's really two parts. It's the foundational skills, and that's the UFly component that was recommended for the earlier grades, which is what Chris is speaking to. And then there's the knowledge building component, and that's the Wit and Wisdom. So those two together make our comprehensive curriculum, knowing that the phonics piece taking place at the earlier grade levels would be the UFly portion. And then for all of our grade levels, 5K through 5th grade next year, would be the Wit and Wisdom. So the phonics piece, again, to Chris's point, would be a separate curriculum, UFly out of the University of Florida, whereas the knowledge building piece would be then Wit and Wisdom. Does that answer your question, Chris?
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions at this time?
All right, thank you. And as you said, we will have more on this at the April 8th.
Yes,
work
Carrie
session.
Willer will join us on the 8th and provide more information.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for that update.
You bet. Thank you.
Then we are going to move to board business. First, 11A would be the monitoring report, OE7 asset protection. We did discuss this at our last work session. And at that time, we had an opportunity to ask questions and as a group talk about if we would be accepting the report as submitted. And my recollection and notes indicate that people were wanting to do that. So could I have a motion to approve OE7 asset protection?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. But any other questions on this? I'll just ask for that.
I just have a point to raise, not about the result, because it's fine, but this kind of broke on March 12th on NPR. The Minneapolis public school system has been the victim of what's being called one of the greatest data breaches in the United States. And over 105,000 student records were stolen through a cyber attack. And when the public school system declined to pay the ransom, it was all released. And it included things like social security numbers, security details, potentially sexual assault records, psychiatric holds. So an awful lot of sensitive information was released, and cyber security experts are really seeing public schools as one of the primary targets in the next few years for that, simply because, like many public entities, we just don't have the resources to put the kind of protection in place. Maybe some of those resources we provided to us through state funding, but I don't even think that's on the radar map right now. So it's an enormous problem. I really respect what our technology group is doing. They're very talented people, but like every district, they just don't have the resources perhaps to do that. So maybe some thought should be given to what do we communicate to families about what they can do to protect that? So what happens to a lot of students is it wouldn't seem like a student record getting stolen should be that challenging, but hackers then use that and take out credit. And sometimes students, they're not checking credit cards. Nobody thinks a 12-year-old has a credit card. But when they do graduate or it comes time to get a credit card or get a house, they find out that their credit history has just been destroyed. And it takes years and years to recover that. So it's way too big of a topic for tonight, but it's just something for us, I think, to think about how we might handle that, because it's already quite serious and likely to become just more and more serious in the future. If you think about it, we really keep data much more sensitive than just grades and attendance. There's some schools as a necessity have very sensitive data about our students and our families, and getting that out there can be quite devastating to families.
Any other comments? We do have a motion and a second, correct? Okay.
I'm sorry, I will add, Mr. Ruffalo, you talked about a tech threat that occurred in another district. We'll just mention the facilities issue that happened in a small Wisconsin district north of us in Crandon. The schools closed for a couple of weeks. And so, as we're approving this, I think we can just we will vote to approve, but also I would add, just appreciation for our facilities team who keeps everything running smoothly to the best of their ability. So.
I agree with that. Thank you. All right, any other comments? Okay, then roll call, please.
Ed Ruffalo,
Aye.
Jason Colpack,
Aye.
Nick Ross,
Aye.
James Bacon,
Aye.
Kay Eger,
Aye.
Chris Sauter,
Aye.
and Peng Tao.
Aye.
Excuse me. Okay, so now we'll move on to 11B. Excuse me. So our board policy 188, which is a policy that addresses virtual meetings and board member participation in meetings via technology, states, excuse me, that in order for a board member to participate in a closed session remotely, the board must take action to allow that. So I would like to make a motion that we would allow a remote participation by a board member tonight, Chris Otter, who needs to be remote for this meeting, so that she can participate in tonight's closed session. So that's a motion. So there,
Second.
okay. Any questions or discussion on that? Okay, then roll call, please, Karen.
Jason Colpack,
Aye.
Edward Ruffalo,
Aye.
Nick Ross,
Aye.
Kay Eger,
Aye.
Peng Tao,
Aye.
James Bacon,
Aye.
and Chris Sauter.
Do I need to, can I say
You-
aye or do I need to?
You can vote.
You can vote.
Okay.
You can
aye.
vote.
Thank you.
I did look at that as well. You can vote. All right, then that takes us to the end of our business, except for the closed session. So I will ask for a motion to go into closed session per Wisconsin State Statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility for the purpose of discussing compensation for the following groups or individuals within said groups: professional educators, administrators, administrative support, maintenance secretaries, and paraprofessionals.
Okay, before you accept a motion, there was, we did have a list of future meetings. And I did want to take a moment during that agenda item just to wish both you and Mr. Ruffalo good luck in the election that will be happening in between this and our next public board meeting. So
Well, thank you for that. Okay, so is there a motion to go into closed session?
Move to enter closed session.
Second.
Okay, we do need a roll call on that.
Kay Ager,
Aye.
Chris Sauter,
Aye.
Ed Ruffalo,
Aye.
James Bacon,
Aye.
Peng Tao,
Aye.
Jason Kolpak,
Aye.
and Nick Ross.
I will be abstaining due to conflict of interest.
Okay, so we will go into closed session. That's the end of our public meeting tonight. Thank you for joining us.